They help you print money every single week. Fanspeak. No cap, no gimmicks, we breaking limits. NFL bets, yeah, we live this business. Meg and Steve, that OG vision. Draft room killers on a lifelong mission. More stress to the Sunday spread. Fanspeak's that voice that's inside your head. Best ball, DFS, NFL bets. They built it brick by brick, no regrets. Fanspeak. Fanspeak team. Printing money since day one. Fanspeak. Forever.
Welcome back. Another episode of Talking Ball Steveospeak. Another afternoon session. Hopefully we're going to do a couple drafts today. Talk some ball. Also going to be on with my sister tonight with Sibling Showdown. I believe that's going to be 8 o'clock. I think we're going to do a draft then as well. So plenty to talk about, plenty to look forward to. Let me hit up chat real quick. And we got WFN Warehouse 2968. Some people call me the gangster, best ball. Some people call me Maurice. I love it. Love it. And I love that you're chatting in from the warehouse. Losimo GM, hope you're doing well. Got our guy Who Heems in here. Sup fam? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was teased last night on Degen Dads. Mike Robb announced it that Who Heems is going to have FK Coolers making another appearance on stream. I mean, you got to follow FK if you're not. Like, dude just absolutely crushed the dailies. He's crushing it in our Discord, posting about risers and fallers every single day. So I look forward to that show later this evening. We got my sister checking in, Stephen WC, Mike Robb, Steve's experts at the Senior Bowl and Senior ladies. Absolutely. We can talk a little Senior Bowl today. I got Kelly, happy almost Friday. Yes. Yes, excited for Sibling Showdown tonight, our first big board drafts together. I cannot wait to be told. Maybe we should do a poll. What line is Meg going to use tonight to bully me into a certain player? We got our guy Paul, Legion 13. Good afternoon. Going to have to watch that collab. Yes, absolutely. That's going to be much watch. Who Heems, post in here what time that is, and I will drop a link to it as when we head out. Just hopefully remind me. We got Hulk's mashed potatoes in here, checking in, and we are. Yes, Meg wants to draft Scatterboot night to nobody's surprise. So let's start out with the draft. Definitely want to talk a lot. Also, we talked yesterday. Actually, before we get going. This was in our Discord chat today. Talked about the Packers, and I said, we could break down division by division, during these pre-draft sessions, and just kind of like an outlook on each division. Why don't we do NFC North today? We'll start looking at the Packers, and what are we looking at here? Excuse me, Josh Jacobs. Number one at 30 ADP, so slightly lower than last year. There have been a few rumors, I'd say, and I don't know. I don't really believe them that they could look to cut Josh Jacobs. I know it didn't go well for Jacobs at the end of the year, but this guy was responsible for 14 touchdowns, over 1,300 yards. And didn't play every game, and of course wasn't 100%. So I would be absolutely shocked if they cut him. So I think 30 is a fair ADP for him, just also given what's the state of that area. Christian Watson, 53.2. I think he has shown he can be the Packers' number one receiver. Obviously, he's got some talented guys on the team with Reed and Golden as well. But Watson clearly coming back from the injury. The big thing is, can he stay healthy? So I do think there's a little risk. I'm fine at this price. I just don't know if I want massive exposure, just knowing he clearly is highly one of the most highly injury risk players in the league right now. Speaking of injury, Tucker Kraft coming back from injury. At the time when he got hurt, he was tight end 1 or 2, absolutely dominating. Paul talked about how he just can't stop taking him in chat in Discord earlier. And if you're not signed up for a Discord, there's a link in the description, absolutely free. Sign up, join, let's talk ball. And I agree with Paul. If if Tucker Kraft didn't get injured, he would be going ahead of Loveland. He would be behind, kind of what Kittle was last year, like behind, Bowers McBride, that combo, and then it was next Kittle. And I think that would be Kraft this year. Right now, it's kind of Loveland is that next tight end, but I think it would have been Kraft. So I think we're getting some value if he's healthy. Obviously, there's some risk of where he's coming back, but we just see the upside. I think the offense runs through him, passing offense, and then Jaden Reed, had hurt week 2, I think, against Washington. Solid teams. I think he'll be their primary slot. Are they always going to be in 11 personnel? No, probably not. So I think having guys like Golden can help keep him off the field a little bit. But my guess is Reed at 109 is a fair price. And then this becomes a question mark. I mean, Jordan Love here is quarterback 18. I think he's somewhere between quarterback 15 and 20. I don't think he's going to be a world beater at any stretch, but he can have some big spike week games. For whatever reason, they seem to always come against Dallas and Detroit, so maybe he can just start playing like that more and more. But the interesting thing here is Romeo Doubs is the next receiver. Romeo Doubs is a free agent. I don't think he's coming back. In FK's report today, he's been falling. And I think due to the uncertainty, and I think a lot of people look at that as a negative, that Romeo Doubs won't be back because he's not, tied with a good offensive mind, a good system. There he had a chance to be like the, kind of murky 1 or 1B, just because they didn't have anything, and they also dealt with so many injuries to other players. But honestly, I think he could emerge at a pretty good role for a number of teams. I think he's going to be fairly popular on the open market. He'll be like a tier 2 receiver. Probably of gettable receivers on the open market. I think Alec Pierce is going to be in tier 1. Wandell maybe kind of in between. And then I think you got a guy like Romeo Doubs. But Doubs fills a different role than Wandell does. He's going to be an outside receiver. So teams that miss out on Pierce, and if they can't get Pickens or Evans, they're going to look at a guy like Romeo Doubs as a guy who is produced when called upon. You say, 724 yards, 6 touchdowns, 601, 4 touchdowns, 674, 8 touchdowns. Those are fine. The biggest thing, he's never cracked 100 targets. And you say, he hasn't earned them, but I would also say, I think he's fine. I think he could be a team's number 2 receiver. If my Commanders, Debo's gone, Ertz is out, want Romeo Doubs, I think that's a very reasonable get for them. And I think in most places he's going to get over 100 targets. So do I think he's going to go out there and get 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns? No, but could he get 100 plus targets, 1,000 plus yards, 10-ish touchdowns? Sure, I absolutely think that. So I think Doubs is a nice little value. Yes, there are some potentially negative landing spots, but even if it goes to a weaker team, like say he's the veteran receiver the Raiders go for, say he's a veteran receiver the Titans look at, he still could be pretty good. I mean, he's going to quickly go at the top or near the top of those depth charts and be all right. And then, sorry, I got away from the Packers. So that leaves Matthew Golden, I think, in a pretty good value at 124. I think he'll be an outside receiver, probably the 3rd or 4th option on the team. But a guy at that price, I'm okay betting on. And then the final things here, Emmanuel Wilson, he's looked good. There's zero question this guy has looked good in the last 2 years when he's had to fill in for Josh Jacobs or just play secondary fiddle to Jacobs. I know they utilized Chris Burks a little also, but that was when Jacobs was banged up. Even Emmanuel Wilson was a little banged up. I think Wilson remains a good handcuff back, secondary back on a very good offense. So being taken that late, I think is a steal. I mean, probably should be going in the 150s where we see a lot of 150s to 160, I'll say 150 to 170, where we've seen most clear number 2 backs go. And then one other guy I want to mention is Dontayvion Wicks. He is now basically free. He is absolutely free-falled at ADP, so you can get him in the 20th round basically anytime you want. He's produced. when given opportunities. And I think he's gone from the Packers. He's a free agent as well. I could see him signing and getting a good role. Consider him like the better receiving Matt Collins this year. So if he goes to a landing spot where he has an opportunity, he will put up good games because he actually is a decent receiver versus Matt Collins. So just something to keep in mind. If you are looking for a fourth receiver, Savion Williams could very well be that guy for the Packers going forward. Got some limited opportunities. He's a unique player. So Packers are the first one. I'll go a little quicker through the other teams in the division. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's my number 2 player, so I love him anywhere in the top 5. Monroe St. Brown, this guy is just so consistent. I mean, doesn't miss time. 3 straight years, 265, 258, 271, 214 even before that. I mean, just absolutely crushes. His rookie year 182. Like, just Monroe doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. I honestly will take him above CeeDee Lamb right now, just because I don't see his role changing. Jameson Williams feels slightly high because we know how inconsistent he can be, but hey, back-to-back 1,000-yard years, back-to-back 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns with a rushing touchdown in 2024. Hopefully the new offense coordinator can utilize him a bit more consistently. He gets a bit more targets. We know he's good. We know he's talented. So I don't love the 37 ADP, but he's like a top 50 player, so I don't think it's that far off. Laporta, was playing well, then got injured. Look, last year wasn't near as good as his rookie year. But what I'll say is he's got Drew Petzing coming in. And Drew Petzing comes from Cleveland, comes from Stefanski, very favorable with tight ends. We saw with McBride. Is he going to have the perfect outlay that McBride has? No, of course not, because McBride had everything, no running game, top receiver goes down, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Laporta can at least do what he did in 2024. Probably, I think best case is something in between, maybe in the 170-point department. So that's pretty good. And I think there's some surplus value we can get there. Goff, speaking of consistency, look at these numbers. 4,500, 34 touchdowns, 4,600, 37 touchdowns, 4,500, 30 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. That was sweet, getting more than 10 points from rushing points from Jared Goff. And then, his quote unquote weak year, 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns. 30 touchdown guy, going to be 4,400 yards. That seems like we kind of know what we can bet on in the bank. Not ever going to be like QB 1 or 2 or 3. It's a push for QB, for him to be a top 5, but very well can be a top 10 quarterback. We're getting him a QB 17. At worst, he's probably top 15. So I think there's value there. Dave Montgomery, this is an interesting one. Still played well. Definitely a big dip, from his previous Lions years, much more on par with his Bears years, but still productive. At his current ADP, I think there's value. I also think there's a real chance he moves on. And is on a different team next year. I would not be surprised with that at all. I just could see them. He's still under contract. They could trade him, and they just bring in a young guy behind him or cheaper veteran, but to fill in for Monty. And then I do think Tesla, if he can stay healthy, will clearly be a number 3. His 6 touchdowns, just absolutely wild, in 16 receptions. We know he could be a touchdown machine. So there are far worse late clicks than Isaac Tesla for an offense that we know is going to throw the ball, get 30-plus touchdowns, passing touchdowns, even as the 5th option behind Gibbs, Laporta, the top 2 receivers. Tesla has some value there. So Lions, I think, are pretty well priced across the board, and I want pieces down the line. And then I will get into chat after I go through these 3 or last 2 teams. Loveland, a little pricey. I love what Loveland did, particularly down the stretch and in the playoffs. But we are saying he has to be tight end 3 here. That's a big ask, I feel, just in general. And there's some opportunity costs, but I'm not going to want to have 0 Colson Loveland. Burden, I think it does kind of end up being the number 1 fantasy option on the Bears just because his dynamic ability. I think we're going to see more touchdowns next year. That was lacking this year. I think going forward, him and Caleb are just going to bond hopefully Rome stays healthier. He got off to such a great start, but honestly, this is almost like half-year numbers for him. So maybe he challenges for wide receiver 1 on the team. So that's a question there. Swift, really good year. Monangai has his role, and it could be very 50-50-ish. But I think this offense is good. I think the offensive line is good. I think it's just wheels up going forward, Ben Johnson in this offense. So I want pieces here throughout. And Swift kind of is a drop-off. Running backs after him start to feel very thin. Scatterboo goes above him. You have a handful of guys like Ramondre and Javonte that you have some confidence in, but your confidence level really starts to crack after you get past Swift and those next couple. So Monangai, speaking of, pretty pricey for number 2 back. He had a great year as a rookie. He's got a touchdown role, I believe. I don't love paying a top 90 price for a guy like that. Like even Charbonnet last year, similar type of situation. He was going like 100. So don't love it, but again, I think this offense is too good to ignore, so I'm not going to have 0 of it. And this is the tough thing with the Bears. Somebody is probably overpriced. We can't have 2 running backs, a tight end, and 3 receivers in the top 100. It's just not, there's not enough touchdowns, yards to go around. What I do wonder is DJ Moore on the way out? They could trade him. He had a good year. Regardless of what happened in the playoff game, he had a really good year. But I think what he brings to the team can be more replaceable. Even Zacchaeus was fine, and I believe is under contract for this year. So if Moore is gone, then all these other prices make sense. If not, something's wrong, and I feel like we're guessing, where it's going to be. I will be in on the receivers and Swift the most, and Caleb. Caleb's fine, but other things are wrong if Moore stays. Is kind of the way I look at it. If Moore's gone, then I can probably justify the rest of those prices. And then finally, the Vikings. This is the tough one because we have arguably the best receiver in the league, and he's playing with one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And here's the thing. This is a guy who 2 years ago missed a good chunk of time. Kirk Cousins missed half the year. He only had 100 targets and still had more yards than he did this past year with 141 targets. And the more troubling thing is some of his best yardage games came with Carson Wentz, and even I think Max Brosmer one game. It's just not promising to me. And, that year where he missed a big chunk of time, he still had 5 touchdowns. He only got 2 touchdowns. So he played like 9 games that year. I'd have to look it up to be exact. But he played 17 games, got 2 touchdowns. Even if he triples that, that's not great for going at ADP 15. If he only gets 6 touchdowns next year and his yardage isn't like 15 or 1,800, it's going to be tough to justify. If he's only got 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns, there's plenty of other receivers you can find getting that kind of production. So I'm going to be lower in Jefferson until we know what the quarterback situation is. Jordan Addison, a little trouble with the law. There's been some rumors he could be on the trade block. If he's back, I don't like him there. We'll have to see, if he's suspended again or anything, but a little bit of an unknown. Right now, I'm kind of in avoid mode. Aaron Jones, maybe on the cut block. If he's back, I think he's fine at that ADP. Jordan Mason, I think he's very fine at this ADP. 6 touchdowns with a very poor offense. TJ Hawkinson also on the trade block or cut block. Reportedly, if he's back, I think he's great at this price. If not, we have to see where he lands. And then Jalen Naylor is an interesting third wide receiver, just if you believe there's any passing upside, or if, say, Addison's going to get suspended or Addison's traded. Taking some shots at Naylor now aren't horrible. The big question is J.J. McCarthy. Do we believe he's a starter? What do we do with him? If we're taking Jefferson, are we even stacking him? Because, what kind of upside is there? I know he had, I believe he had 2 20-point games, one of which against Washington, maybe a 3. I think he had one against the Giants and maybe one against the Cowboys, but that, he had a rushing touchdown. So sure, when he plays terrible defenses, maybe he can do enough, but overall, not great. Anyways, that's my thoughts for right now where I'm at on the NFC North. And let me hit up chat, and then we can get into a draft. And of course, I want to hear what your thoughts are from what I had to say. Huhaim saying 4 p.m. Central, so 5 p.m. Eastern. Mike saying, Steve, we just made a big bet on going all in. We can't start with that pick. We got our guy Chad Candles in here, GM Steve. So hard for me to click Jacobs, but I guess I have to get some. I mean, yeah, he definitely failed down the stretch. Better in drafters or marathon format. Because he could push teams up the rankings, even if he wasn't there for the last couple of weeks. I just have a tough time believing they move on from him. And if he's healthy, I think he can absolutely be back to, he had 13 touchdowns last year. He could have 15 plus touchdowns, 1,500 yards. He receives the ball well. So there's just enough fantasy upside there. Dubs is gone. Kraft is Love's most consistent option. Yeah, this is why I think Kraft just really takes over, because Watson's going to be the field stretcher, and he's more than that. Golden's kind of in the same department, and then Reed and Kraft are going to be the chain movers. That's how I feel, but I also feel like Kraft is going to have the major red zone role, because that was another area where Dubs was pretty good. So, yeah. Peanut Punch checking in. Hope you're doing well. Chiato, do you think A.J. Brown is going to be traded? Where do you see him if he's traded to the Bills? Fantasy talk. I do think there's a possibility they could trade him. I think they've finalized the offense coordinator yet, unless I missed that. I don't know if they're waiting for that. I don't know, what's going on. It's a weird situation where, the Eagles, for as good of a team that they were, their offense was real bad. And I don't think people, necessarily realize and appreciate that. I mentioned it the other day when I talked about the Saquon and Hurts prices. Saquon, people want to say, oh, Saquon failed because he had so much workload the year before. I don't think that's it at all. I think some of it's the offensive line, but it really is the offensive system. They last year finished 19th in points, 24th in yards. 1 year previously, they were 7th and 8th in those two categories. That's a massive drop off. And of course, the year before they were, number 2 in rushing yards, number 2 in rushing touchdowns. Bills were number 1 in those categories, number 1 in attempts. This last season, they were 11th in attempts, 18 in yards, 14th in touchdowns. Just really, so it wasn't just Saquon; it was affecting Hurts as well, and just terrible how they utilized him. A.J. Brown still ended up with a decent year. Could they trade him? Yeah, but I think, they're still in win now mode, so they have to get back something significant. Could the Bills go that route? I could see it. A couple years ago, the Diggs trade was big for them. I think they might not want to give up a big asset and a big contract. I think a lot depends on if they feel like they could get. I know some people think it's crazy, but do you trade for A.J. Brown and pay him probably even more money, or do you sign Alec Pierce and not trade away a pick? I think you make the case that Alec Pierce, the younger receiver, a little cheaper, not giving up a couple picks, might be the better route there. So a lot could depend on what they feel like they can do there. Hey, Steve, how's it going, Kicks? Where do you think Jim Schwartz ends up? Heard the rumors about Tennessee, but I don't think that makes sense. Yeah, probably not Tennessee. The most persistent rumor is the 49ers. It is interesting, teams like the Steelers, Patrick Graham, Jets, some young guy that I'm not really familiar with. So other teams are filling the position. So you do wonder what's going to be left out there. 49ers, I think, make a ton of sense just because if Jim Schwartz wants to get back in the head coaching realm, that's a great path to go under Kyle Shanahan, and just seeing total success. And then even if he wants just a long-term great fit, kind of like what Spagnola's had with Andy Reid. Schwartzy could go there, and it's like every year you're with one of the best offensive minds, one of the better run organizations. Like you could have a nice, long, fun career there. So that I think makes the most sense. What if Savion is RB2? I don't know if they'll go that route. I mean, I think he's fun. I think he's a fun player. He was like the poor man's, Luther Bird and the poor man's Debo Samuel, all those comps. I think my issue is I think Wilson's done more than enough. Now, could they utilize Savion more receiving out of the backfield? Absolutely. And I think for other teams, I think he absolutely could be RB2. But I just don't see the Packers going that route unless something crazy happens with Jacobs. Kit Kicks agreeing on Laporta. Are you hopping in draft? Yes, I will be hopping in 1 second. Bears cannot have a 4,000-yard passer. It is science. That is true. And boy, if they don't have a 4,000-yard passer next year and like a 35-45 touchdown passer, it being Caleb, of course, then those ADPs are way off. So let me get into a draft. I will catch up on the rest of the chat. I will count it down, entering the big board. So I will count down in 10 seconds, and in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enter. All right, we are Snapville. So hopefully some of you guys got in. And let's see, we got Legion. I see Kramer in here. King QC. House always wins. I can't remember. Is that somebody from chat? I definitely recognize G-Temp. So I had the first pick. Just not leave any mysteries, and Mark Bijan. Mike saying Jim Schwartz, the Ravens, Bengals, the Steelers on a revenge tour. We'll get. Yeah, I actually did wonder, like when this news first broke, but I guess they're too far down the line, Patrick Graham, if the Steelers would go Jim Schwartz. I mean, I think they are the type of franchise that respects that type of player. I think Mike McCarthy, and McCarthy coached against Schwartz when he was the Lions coach. So maybe there's some bad blood there, but I actually thought that made a lot of sense. Like Jesse Minter, I don't know if he'd want a major veteran defensive coach above him, sort of thing. And then Bengals, who knows? But that would have made sense. But yeah, it seems like the Steelers went a different way. I think Geno Smith to the Vikings would be interesting. Yeah, this is one. And as much as we talk about these quarterbacks at the bottom, and we draft Jacoby Brissett, we draft Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, other guys. Nobody talks about Geno Smith. He is. I don't think we draft Tua. I don't think the Raiders are going to keep him as an expensive backup. I think they're going to get him out of town to just not have any issues and cut him. And yeah, there could absolutely be a team that signs him for, like what we've seen guys like, I don't know if he'll get what Daniel Jones got last year, but kind of like what, Russ and, James Winston kind of got similar types of contracts last year. I could see Geno signing somewhere for that. Vikings would actually be a wild, given Darnold replaced on them and all that kind of stuff. Honestly, Geno, he looked bad last year. It wasn't just everything else that went on with the Raiders. He looked bad. But his, 3 previous years, he was much better. So he could be an upgrade over J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, this is how I feel. I feel like right now we're just not pricing in where McCarthy, if they bring in any sort of veteran, we need to dock McCarthy. And right now he's not getting docked because at least that much. He's quarterback 28 right now. Honestly, it could kind of be like a Giants situation last year or the Browns. And granted, those were with rookie quarterbacks, but you had the vet in there, or vets in case of the Giants. And it was like, okay, they'll probably start some games. So what are we going to do? I know McCarthy's a third-year guy, but I think it could be similar to that. Just the cheese of this draft. Nice. We got GAB checking in. Best ball fan, anxiously waiting combine season. Yeah. That would be. I mean, if Kubiak pulls that off, that's brilliant. And I think Schwartzy would love Max Crosby for sure. I'm feeling it'll be Russ in Minnesota. I could see that. I could. And I don't think Russ rocks the boat as much as some other names would. And yeah, I mean, Russ's skills have declined, but we just saw it 2 years ago with the Steelers. He had a winning record, and I know people point to Justin Fields' winning record, but Russ's performance was better than Justin Fields with the Steelers. Like, it is unquestionable. One of the best ways you can point to this is if you look at the first 6 weeks with Justin Fields, George Pickens was wide receiver like 46. With Russ, if you just highlight his weeks, and that's at a time where Pickens got hurt and kind of quit on the team at the end of the year, he was like wide receiver 20, 23. So he was considerably better, even at a time, and playing much tougher schedule at the end of the year. Teams like the Ravens and such, Eagles. Speaking of Pickens, I might be taking him in a second. Russ simply outplayed Justin Fields, and I think Aaron Rodgers last year outplayed Russ, etc. So not saying Russ was the guy you had to have or anything, but he could manage a team, and I think that is what Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell are simply looking for, is somebody to just manage this team, get the ball to Justin Jefferson. We got Peppertoni in here checking in. Hope you're doing well. Look, we saw this in Cincinnati last year. When Burrow goes down, they initially go to, his name escapes me, their backup quarterback. He's awful. What happens? They bring in Joe Flacco, literally off the street, essentially. And he's got one mission, and it's get the ball to his stars, primarily Chase his 21 targets the next game, 21 catches, like just ridiculous. And then Higgins starts getting involved. And it was simple. Like, you can't run an offense where you pay these elite receivers this amount of money, where you are drafting, spending this kind of capital on top end receivers and then not even attempt to get the ball to them. Like, I don't care who your quarterback is, you have to be able to do that. And JJ McCarthy just couldn't do it. And like I said, Carson Wentz did. I mean, yeah, sure, they weren't necessarily winning games, but they were closer in some games. I think they won at least that Cleveland game with Wentz. But look at that Eagles game. Yes, they got killed. Their defense failed them in that game, but at least Wentz was moving the ball a little bit in the second half, kind of kept it a little close, got the ball to his guys, and he was hurt in that game for sure. So I went with Chase Brown, George Pickens. Definitely would have, definitely was considering T. Higgins. I'm also considering pulling up more Kenneth Walker, Bucky a little bit to the turn, really, and Jacobs also. I do like getting two running backs there, and then can then keep hammering running backs, or kind of ride with double anchor and then get some rookies and other guys that I like later. But I like Chase Brown a lot. There was a report today that the Bengals and Chase Brown could be in extension talks, which makes a lot of sense. I know some people thought that they would be looking to replace him. I don't think that's in their mindset at all. I think they are going to extend Chase Brown. And I think he's a guy. And I'd love to see P. Ryan go away and it'd be like Taj Brooks as the backup and just let Chase Brown do good things. Because he was really productive in Flacco and Burrow games last year. That was, I think pretty telling to what he can be in this offense. Well, hopefully it starts evening out for you. I've had like the middle once or twice. I've done, I think this is my 13th draft. I think this was my 11th of these, and I've done 2 little boards. And I believe this is my 3rd 101, maybe 4th 101 or 102. And most of mine are like 109 through 112. And then 1 or 2 in the middle. So, yeah, it should even out throughout the process. But yeah, it can get frustrating sometimes. But does it feel like it gets top tier running backs? I want to know. You'll get it. You'll get there. All right. Well, speaking of Swift, I am going to pull him up over Hendo because I'm not sure if Hendo's situation changes dramatically by next year. I'll take May. I don't love May at his ADP. Getting him at the turn here, I think is fine. May, I think absolutely can be quarterback 2 again, quarterback 3. I think he's always going to be in that mix. He actually didn't run near as much as we expected. Now, in part, we had a lot of quarterbacks not running as much, either due to injury or offensive situation like the Eagles, like I mentioned with Hurts before. So that helped, of course. But May, we know it's in his bag. I mean, we saw it, what was it, week 15, he ran for 2 touchdowns early, and then didn't run anymore and didn't really end up with, he had just a good game. There are so many times, and Williams and I talked about it, we were doing a breakdown for the first like 11 weeks, 12 weeks, and then, some life and stuff got in the way. But we would talk about like May would have these like good games, like these 20, 21 point games. And he was just very consistent about it. But there were a lot of times where he just wasn't needing to go for the kill shot because, like, I think it was the Carolina game, he threw 1 pass in the 4th quarter, and played 1 drive. And of course didn't run any in the 4th quarter. Like, there were just situations like that. Their defense was too good, or their special teams had some big touchdowns, so that took some drives away from them. In the end, I think May had a great year. I think sky's the limit, continues to be the limit for him. So I view him as, Josh Allen light. And we know what Josh Allen can do. We know what, I think we're seeing what Drake May can do. We got Fly Fish in here, strong preference for the first 4 picks this far. Yeah. I mean, I agree. To me, Bijan Gibbs just feel different. And then your choice of receivers, for me, it's Chase and even kind of JSN. I mean, JSN Puka, I'm kind of like indifferent to, but I want those guys for sure. Just an FYI, leg up first rankings came out today and a product of lie, so we're likely to see more ADP movements as those start getting used. Interesting. Good to know. You want 101s, don't join them, Steve. Appreciate you, Paulino. Yeah, it ended up backfiring on me because I got so many of mine in the Superflex and went with Lamar Jackson, and that did not turn out well for my Superflex teams. Yeah, so yeah, no, it is what it is, and again, we see it every year. Like, the 101 generally doesn't pay off to be the 101. It's just the reality of the situation. I mean, Chase had a very, very good year. Kind of, missed a game with suspension, tailed off at the end a bit, and then had that window in the middle where, before Flacco got there, where had a couple good games in garbage time, but not the consistency that we needed. So, yeah, the 101, I don't think we've had a repeat 101, right? Like a guy deserving of the 101. who were taking that particular year. I guess a couple of years ago, seems he was like the 1 of 3, if I remember, when he dominated 2 years ago. All right, coming up here, usually go Pierce or Evans. I'll go Diggs first, just to help me make my decision. I'm ahead of Diggs, so getting him here I think is value. Let me just double check if there's anything else I'm gonna like. No need on Pollard. Yeah, I will go Pierce. Again, he's sliding some, and I think this is the range he should be going. A couple landing spots I wouldn't love him to draft in this range, but honestly, I mean, this is a range where you're drafting guys like Jacoby Myers and Jerry Jeudy last year. They didn't really pan out at that, but we were targeting bad offenses, top receivers in that range a year ago. Going back to that I don't think is a terrible call if Pierce were to end up with a bad situation. But also he could end up with a great situation or just go back to the Colts, which I think is a very positive situation for him as well. Jay Lives checking in. Thoughts on Baker? Yeah, I think Baker's really good. I think he's a good value. I know he's moving up. So let's see, where is he at now? He's quarterback 18, going ADP 126. I'm ahead of that. I think he's a really good value. Look, the 2 previous years he finishes the top 10 quarterback. Last year for the first half, 9 weeks, he was 10 weeks maybe he was top 10 quarterback. So getting him at quarterback 18, or if you're taking him ahead of that is quarterback 15, 16. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for surplus value. We know he's got a great receiver room. Theoretically, law of averages say at some point they can have a year where they're mostly healthy. I know it hasn't been the case the last 2 years. And last year he got banged up. And then also, Bucky going down just hurt the offense as a whole. Tristan Wirfs going down and not being healthy to start the year wasn't great. And then he was never 100% and stuff like that. So theoretically, he can be healthier. The whole offense can be much healthier. And with the depth and weapons, yeah, I think Baker is wheels up at his current ADP. Last year we were really high on him. He was like quarterback 8, 9, somewhere in that range. And that was ambitious. Absolutely what he'd been worth the previous 2 years, but it didn't leave a lot of room for upside. This year, there's plenty of room for upside. So I like that. I like those situations. Usually those end up panning out pretty well for you. Yeah, my best teams last year were Gibbs Taylor. I was so up, then both closed out the season a bit down. The sequence of great games matters a lot for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You looked at it last year, first round, Puka and Chase and Amon-Ra were fine as receivers. And Puka had a great playoff run, and he had a great week 14, so that even helped push more teams through than he would have had Devontae Adams not gotten injured. But really was Gibbs. McCaffrey, Gibbs, and Bijan. Those were the guys who really crushed it points-wise in the first round. And in the second round, JT was just the absolute stud, though at the end of the year, of course, Henry kind of took over that department a bit. But and Chase Brown also, just talking late in the season, he was extremely good down the stretch, and then a couple rounds later, James Cook. So let me make my picks here. Not going to go teaching more. Ooh, not loving this range. I'm going to pull up Worthy. I think there's some value there. Let's look at tight end. Don't love Kincaid. pull Rico. I mean, this is, I think, around where Rico should go. And be a little stronger and just balanced running back receiver right now. So, I think combos of those types of, first, second round running backs, or you could have done were those receivers. The key in the third round was, of course, JSN. A few other receivers hit there as well. Devontae for the season, not during the playoffs. T. Higgins kind of up and down due to his injuries, the concussions, but had a great, very productive season. And Kyron was the other one. It's that third, fourth rounder, and then Cook right behind him. So to me, that was so much the combo you needed. George Pickens, every now and then snuck into the fourth round. He was more of a fifth rounder. Obviously, Josh Allen could have been supplemented the third round pick as well because he was so good. But yeah, it just goes to show, like, you do need the combos, but we also don't know when those combos are going to hit. And if Daniel Jones doesn't get hurt, JT is probably the winning the guy you want. He was still producing 15-point games with, Phillip Rivers, Old Man Rivers, and Riley Leonard at the helm. He just couldn't produce those 30-point games anymore. The Gibbs thing was, I think, frustrating because, the offense shouldn't have collapsed like it did. It didn't make sense why the offense, when we played the Steelers and couldn't produce basically at all. Minnesota's a tough defense. Christmas Day, they were out of it. But yeah, it was ugly. Yeah, it really was ugly down the stretch, and that's obviously why they got a new offense coordinator. Speaking of coaching changes, I saw, and we talked about this a little bit, the Jets in 1 year, less than a year, I guess, they were hired right around this time, but yeah, in 1 year, 9 of the 21 assistants have been fired. That's a pretty high number in 1 year turnover. We'll see if that can help the Jets salvage something and salvage Aaron Glenn. But boy, it does not look good for the Jets. So I do think a good point is trying to change up these combos, and that's why I said I considered Kenneth Walker or pulling up Jacobs or somebody else just to change the combo, because it might end up being Bijan is absolutely the clear 101-ish pick, but you need the Bijan Walker, Bijan Jacobs, or maybe Bijan T. Higgins, etc. So I do recommend changing up those combos when you do get, same pick. That I think can just end up being crucial. So you're not saddled with, a guy who gets injured or something like that. This is a range that I'm not a huge fan of, but I will pull up my guy Emmett Johnson, Jaden Higgins, Emmett Johnson. I have Emmett Johnson above Katron Allen. I like Katron Allen, but I think Emmett Johnson just has a greater upside. So I want a good percentage of him. I think he is also a guy who could rise really with the combine. So yeah, I want to be ahead of market right now. And as my fifth running back, I'm very insulated in case I'm wrong about Emmett Johnson. So let's see, J Lives. Any rookies you like that may be day 2 or day 3 picks value? Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned one, Emma Johnson. I'll just give a quick look. Some have probably gone off the board, but Atron Allen, I think he's probably going to be a third rounder. His running mate at Penn State, who started with zero ADP, and he's now Nicholas Singleton. He's now 177. I'm very ahead of him. I haven't got him as much as I probably should, given my rank on him. PPR Tyler just put out a great video on Nicholas Singleton last night. He and I, and he had one the other day, or maybe it's 2 nights ago. I get my days confused. He had a good one on Emma Johnson. He and I, we're going to do a couple streams together, I think, shortly. But we are very much seeing these rookies the same way. I'm high on both those guys. Nicholas Singleton has some flaws. Vision doesn't break as many tackles as you expect for a 220-pound guy. But the upside is so high. Such an explosive player. Such a great receiver for Singleton. Those are guys I really like at the running back position. Jonah Coleman also, Jadarian Price. Those are probably both second, third round running backs as well. I think they're fine. They go a little higher than I maybe think they weren't. Receiver-wise, he's still on the board. Elijah Surratt, he's been falling. I will be scooping up that fall. He's not a guy who's going to test well. He's just not. But he, to me, is one of the best technical sound receivers that we've seen coming into the NFL in the last few years. I think he's extremely good in that department. And he's also tremendous in the red zone, tremendous with contested catches. So I think there's a lot of fantasy value there. And I think he's a second round receiver. A guy like Casey Concepcion could be late first, early second round. Very high on him, explosive, little gadgety guy, but can do it all. I also, in terms of receivers, looking real quick, Jacoby Lane, he's been falling. I think he's like a late second, early third round receiver. Chris Bell, he's falling. He might be a first rounder still, but he's got an injury. We just don't know his status yet. Don't mind having a few shares of him though. Jeremy Bernard, I think, is very interesting. At Washington, transferred to Alabama, really shined these last couple of years at Alabama. In fact, outplayed like 5-star phenom Ryan Williams last year. Good possession receiver. Not going to be a number one, but a good number two type receiver. Zach Branch, Georgia this past year, can be an athletic playmaker. Probably third rounder, maybe second. Then you start to dip. Chris Brezel, I'm actually surprised he's going this late. He's got some potential to be in the first round. He could really have a big combine. Let's see here. I'm going to go Shaheed for one. And I think I need to pull up a quarterback because things have gotten thin fast. We'll pull up Stroud just simply because I have Jaden Higgins. Probably like, Young more, but having that's one of the, I think we're fairly confident that Higgins will be the number two for the Texans. I think there's a lot of fun receivers. Then tight ends, so much of it will be landing spot. I mean, guys like Trigg, Michael Trigg, Stowers, Max Clare, I think are all in the mix. It's just, where do they land? Will you be reviewing your best ball teams from last year? I definitely can. Maybe one day do that at some point. So that's a good idea to review some of my best ball teams. Meg and I are going to do some like what went right, what went wrong stuff. Jets OC interview list is so bad. I'm fading every Jet right now. And this is the tough thing with the Jets is their price is wrong. Like Garrett Wilson goes just so high. And sometimes like bad offenses can still produce really good fantasy players. And look, I've been a Washington fan. Terry McLaurin had a lot of good fantasy years when Washington was really bad. We saw 2 years ago Malik Neighbors, clearly an elite fantasy talent, clearly on an awful offense. The problem is your ceiling can be capped, and then when quarterback play is questionable, your coaching is questionable. Like the Eagles had a bad offense and they overcame bad offensive coaching, but it wasn't like bad total situation. Like there was enough issues that it hindered players and limited their upside. And so I agree. Like I just am going to have a tough time taking a lot of Garrett Wilson when, like last year, I thought Justin Fields was, not going to be great for Garrett Wilson, but I thought, there would be at least enough there, right? I mean, I did have the concern. I mentioned it last year. George Pickens was wide receiver 46. Like, are we probably drafting Garrett Wilson too high? I thought so, but I at least thought there was enough in that Jets offense to get Garrett Wilson across the finish line. And yes, he had Steeler game was back and forth fine. After that, he had some really good games, but only in garbage time. It was like that Dolphins game, you look at the first 3.5 quarters and Garrett Wilson might have had like 2 catches for 20, 30 yards. And then the last 2 drives, he just gets peppered, gets a touchdown. I think maybe 2-point conversion, if I remember correctly. Gets like a total ridiculous catch at the end. Same in the Cowboys game. Same in another game that escapes me right now. And so he got some big weeks, but that just wasn't sustainable. That was never going to be sustainable. Even if Wilson didn't get hurt, even if Fields didn't get hurt, that offense was just a mess. Mason Taylor's free, but it's like, what do we feel good about it? Donnie Mitchell is in between. There's some raw upside there, but I'll take a shot or two, but I'm not ever going to love it. And what I think I am is those are the guys I'm just going to be like 4 to 6% on. I don't even want to be at the field. It's not worth it, because if that offense completely implodes, they just have no chance to pay off. And like Wilson probably has no upside. Like we're not going to likely, end the year. Like Neighbors to me was an exception where he was able to have this 35% target share on a terrible offense and be a top, 10 receiver. I just don't think that's a very repeatable situation. Let me make these picks and then I'll get back into chat. A lot of Jacoby Lane. Don't know if I want to go that route. I'm going to go tight end. We'll start with Schultz over Likely. And I'm going to go Daniel Jones. Not sure if Pierce will be back and that ends up being a stack or not, but I like getting a third quarterback here. So yeah, I will have very little Jets. Oops, huge dispute. I hope Connor's back. I think Kubiak and Shaheed to the Raiders. Ooh, now that's a good shout out, good combo. Kubiak obviously had Shaheed with the Saints when he was OC. They traded for him this past year. Him and Trey Tucker are a little similar in that regard, but I think you can make it work. Have Jack Besh kind of be the slot guy. Of course, there's plenty of times where they keep Michael Mayer, they'll be in 12 personnel. And even we saw that with Kubiak with Seattle. But that would be a lot of fun. Never forget Dwayne Bowe, 16 garbage time touchdown season. Yeah, no, I mean, it's possible. Do not get me wrong. But generally, those guys end up with a peak upside, of just how good they can be. And it is weird because, we're talking about Bijan, as the clear RB1. I will say the Falcons offense was better than the Eagles last year. And that's kind of shows you why Kevin Patula does not have a job. Because let's see, the Falcons finished 24th in points, a little behind, but 14th in yards. That's with Michael Penix being injured, Kirk Cousins having to play a lot, Drake London missing a lot of time. Yeah, that's saying quite a bit to the Eagles that the Falcons were essentially on par with them offensively. So the other reason why I'm okay with Bijan 101, I mean, he just nearly set the yardage record, and Stefanski, as much as I give him some crap, like he's been good with running backs, that he has a positive history with. But two, Algier should be gone. So I think Bijan could easily be a 12-plus rushing touchdown guy, much less what he's doing through the air as well. So, he only had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. He had 11 total. And, he should easily be getting 287 carries. He should be in 10 to 15 rushing touchdowns. And then, whatever he does through the air is just gravy. So up in 2 picks, 3, 5, 6, 1. Need a quarterback. Claiborne's a rookie. I'm a little lower on him, but he's falling some. So I'll start taking some more. There's maybe some value in this range. I think I'm going to take him at this pick. I'm going to go Trey Harris. I just think there's a lot of upside there. You grab another tight end. I'll go David Njoku. It's a little early, but as I mentioned, that I did my rankings for Monday, I believe it was. I am looking to, when I redo my rankings, I'm definitely going to move David Njoku up. I think there's he's a guy who could follow Stefanski if Pitts moves on, but there's just a lot of situations I think he could go to that are honestly an upgrade from the Browns. How many teams have a clear opening for a starting running back? I only count 2. Who names 4? Now, I will say, I don't know if I'd consider Jets, Jags, Cowboys clear openings because they have a pretty good free agent already in place. Now, if they move on, that opening becomes clear. What I will say is, I think you have Saints as a pretty clear opening. I think you have Chiefs, definitely. Washington is a very clear opening. Then I think you have some situations. Cardinals do have an opening. Is it clear? No. Is it priority? Probably not. Vikings are another one. I don't know if they're going to, if you're talking like drafting a first round pick like Love or signing a big free agent, I don't think the Vikings go down that road. But I think Aaron Jones could be a cap casualty, and Jordan Mason is fine at what he does, but he's limited. So could they go out and draft an Emmett Johnson in the 2nd or 3rd round, or somebody in 2nd or 3rd round, Jonah Coleman, whoever, Price, etc., and then that guy's a starter? Yeah, I think so. Or sign, a 2nd-tier free agent who kind of takes over a role. No, I wouldn't have said Carolina had a clear opening for Rico last year, and he took that over. I think there are a lot of these murky situations, like Steelers. I know a lot of people are Jalen Warren fans. I don't think he's this locked in 300 touch guy. We saw they went Najee above him. We saw Gainwell kind of outproducing him last year. He has a role. He's a good player in that role, but he's not this like going to take over the back. And that's probably honestly RJ Harvey also for Denver. Dobbins is a free agent. So I think there's a big role open in Denver next year of 250 touches. I think that would be Sean Payton's ideal, is to have a combo, and it could be Dobbins again, but okay. We're going to go running back here. You go Najee. I think he could find his way to a role, pretty decent role, and tight end. I'll go Pat Freiermuth. I don't think I have Pat Freiermuth's share yet. So, those are just some of the few ones off the top of my head. But then it becomes this musical chairs. If Breece Hall leaves the Jets, then I think there's an opening there. Yes, he might be filling one of the ones I mentioned before, but in terms of like an Algier going there, or a Rico Dowdle, or whatever the case may be. So I think there's for sure an opening in that situation. Tennessee, they have Pollard, they have Spears, but it's a new coach again, new system. Maybe Pollard is cut. Maybe I don't know if they turn it over to Spears. So there could be a big opening there if Pollard's cut. So I know the clear opening is a little ambiguous, but the path for some of these teams to have clear openings can quickly become available, is what I'd say. So here I would definitely add Washington. I do not think Washington is. Now, do I think they're taking Jeremiah Love in the first round? No, probably not. I think receiver is more likely, or defense. But I mean, they don't have a second rounder, but like a third rounder, or again signing somebody. I think Washington would absolutely be in the mix. I don't think either JCM or Rodriguez did enough, and even combined to do enough to show that role is locked down. Yeah, I mean, this is why I think the only way Cowboys don't go with Javonte is if like Breece Hall is there, like that. That's what it is to me. Like I think they just run it back with Javonte, to be honest. But that's my guess. But yeah, things, to me, there's a lot of murky situations, and a lot of it will end up being musical chairs. Like if ETN leaves the Jaguars, I don't think Michelle Tootin is going to just be the guy. Like they'll probably bring in some sort of veteran, and it could be a mid-tier guy. It could be like a Najee, just somebody they want to be a chaperone. But that chaperone could have a pretty big role, because I wouldn't say Tootin clearly showed that he was ready for the spotlight. Another free agent who could move up to a bigger role is Brian Robinson. Clearly stuck behind CMC, but he's got starting experience. There's going to be a number of teams that will throw a couple million Brian Robinson's way and say, hey, can you handle 200 carries for us? All right, last pick of this draft. Let's see what we got. We're going to go receiver. Besh. I mentioned Wicks. I might just do it. Not probably the greatest build, but I have a lot of guys I feel pretty good about. I'll take a Wicks shot. Free, literal last pick of the draft. A lot of places I think Wicks could be an upgrade for him. So go over teams, my team, and if right now I'm looking at. Let me know if anyone else is in here. Just Legion, is Kramer in here or not? Sometimes in King of QC, if somebody else is in here, I'll be happy to go over their team. Just drop it in chat. I went 3-6-8-3. May, Stroud, Daniel Jones. I think 3 starters. Daniel Jones might not start the year, but three starters, and 3 quality teams of Stroud can be a little hit or miss, as we've seen. went heavier running back than I thought. I knew I'd go this like double anchor, but then Swift and Dowdle just felt kind of like the best, guys I felt comfortable with at that range. Then went with the rookie Emma Johnson. I know that's ahead of his ADP, but I'm even more ahead of that. And then just wait on Naj at the end. Pickens, Diggs, Alec Pierce, Worthy. I talked about before. I think Worthy. I'm surprised his ADP has fallen this much. I get he had a bad year, but there was a lot that contributed to that bad year, including his own teammate injuring him. And you just have so many situations of Rice's issues, Marquise Brown, Thornton being free agents, etc. Kelsey, does he retire? Worthy could just end up with a pretty good role next year. Jane Higgins, I'm pretty excited about his year 2 development. Rashid Shaheed, as Hicks mentioned, maybe falls Kubiak to the Raiders. One way or another, I think he's going to be in popular demand out there. And then Trey Harris and Dontavian Wicks. So some young guys. Harris, I think we kind of know what his role is going to be. I talked about him before. I think he's been very undervalued. I probably should have at least go in the 150-ish range. I mean, even if he is the clear number 3 in the Chargers, how's that not in the 150 range? And then Wicks, I just could see him get a solid landing spot. So we won't take a ton of him pre-draft, or at least until we know where he lands. But we'll take some shots like this. Then Dalton Schultz, David Njoku at Freiermuth, not the strongest tight end room, though Schultz coming off a very good year. Njoku could get a nice little landing spot. And then Freiermuth, I think Jonnu's cut. Darnell Washington's coming off a big injury, obviously new offensive system. Wouldn't be surprised if Freiermuth goes back to being a pretty big fantasy weapon. So let me hit up chat. Jordan Kramer, that's right. Let me go back. That's who Kramer is. Appreciate that. Appreciate you joining me. Yeah, so that was my 14th draft. And I forgot to do the other teams anyway, so we'll go Legion first, 3683. Josh Allen, Bryce Young, and then taking the Michael Penix shot. I think the Penix and McCarthy, I feel a little better about Michael Penix than JJ McCarthy. I'm kind of in the same boat with both of them, not really feeling great about either, particularly as a full season situation. But right now, if I had to choose, I'd take Penix. Cook, Scadaboo, Quentin Jenkins, James Conner, as he mentioned, things went a little haywire here. So a little ahead of ADP. I know that's not what he wanted. J.K. Dobbins, Emmanuel Wilson. Conner and Scadaboo up top. QJ right there. One of the few pieces on a bad offense I'm kind of willing to take. Conner could be the starter. Dobbins could be back in Denver or find to play somewhere else. Keep in mind, Dobbins was the same draft as Jonathan Taylor. Has a lot of injuries, not a lot of miles actually. Emmanuel Wilson, as I talked about before, love the value you're getting for the Packers' clear number 2 back. Not sure why he's going that late. Nico, DK Metcalf, Ricky P, Khalil Shakir, Debo, Troy Franklin. Very strong wide receiver room, even with some uncertainty about like who DK's quarterback is going to be. Bills, I think, even if the Bills bring in a top wide receiver, whether it's they trade for AJ Brown, Alec Pierce, whoever it is, I think Shakir in the 90s, early 100s is fine, absolutely fine. Debo, don't know where he'll be, but I think he's going to have good value there. For Franklin, I love the value we're getting for potentially Denver's number 2 receiver. Jacoby Lane, a rookie who keeps falling, but I will keep scooping up myself. Then Malik Washington. Dolphins could bring another receiver, but probably at worst number 3. So, last round pick for that is I think fine. Kincaid, Parkinson, and Chig. We'll see where Chig ends up. Other 2 are good starters. And of course, Kincaid and Shakir, Cook on full Buffalo stack here. That's an offense we want to target. I mean, we know We know who the coach is. We know who the play caller is. He's Brady is keeping those duties, and they finished fourth in both points and scoring and points and yards last year. So that's pretty good. We got Kramer, Dak, Shuck, Rodgers. Rodgers, I said the other day, it's probably 20% he's back. For a last round pick, I think it's worth taking some shots on that. Dak and Shuck, I think, are actually really good. I like Shuck this year. I think from a fantasy perspective, I don't necessarily think he's the best real life quarterback, but fantasy wise, I think Taysom Hill's going to move on. I think a full year under Kellen Moore. He was good as an offense coordinator for Dak. Herbert, Hurts, I get those are much bigger names, but I think we saw some positivity for Shuck down the stretch. Bucky, Javonte, like I said, after Swift and Javonte and Stevenson, that's kind of where I stopped feeling confident about running backs. I think Javonte will be back with Dallas. I think that's a good pickup. Hubbard, if Rico moves on, I think that's a very good pick. David Montgomery, as I mentioned before, could be on the move somewhere. Even if he's not, even if he is the same kind of role-ish as last year, you're going to get value at that spot. Katron Allen, Mike Washington, 2 solid rookie picks, particularly where you got them. Lamb, Jefferson, Zay Flowers, Rome Odunze, Mike Evans. That's a pretty talented wide receiver room. Taking the risk on Brandon Ayuk, I'm going to have to see where he lands before I really draft him. I know you got him late, and that's probably what should be. I think he should be falling because I really worry. But this is the wide receiver room to do it, right? Like, you have so much talent and certainty with these top 5 guys. Brandon Ayuk, it returns to what he was a couple years ago, massive value. If he's what he was, like injured 2 years ago, then okay, you're fine. And if he totally is a dud, it's not going to kill you. And then Zach Branch, Alec Manor, so nice little receiver room, weighted tight end, but I think he did well. AJ Warner had a really good year. Theo Johnson had a really good year. You're getting these guys late, should be fine. And then Gunnar Helm probably taking over as the tight end in Dable's offense. So I like that quite a bit. King QC is the last one. 3683, Trevor Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes, Shador Sanders. I give Shador some crap, but honestly, that late, I will take some Shador Sanders. I think he's likely to start most of the games in Cleveland this year. Hopefully get some confirmation on that at some point. So we'll feel a little better about it. But, at some point, we'll see if they sign anyone or anything like that. But it's just between him and Gabriel. I think Shador will start over Gabriel and any sort of late round rookie. Saquon, Kyron, double anchor there. Tyron Tracy, I think, is very fine for where he's going. Alvin Kamara, nice speculative pick there. Same with Rashard Smith. We know Hunt and Pacheco are both free agents, both probably gone. Smith, I could see taking over a bigger role. Chris Rodriguez, said it before, I think Rodriguez, I'm taking Rodriguez where he's going as essentially a last round pick versus JCM where he's going as, picking the one teens. I just think there's too much risk there. Neighbors, Devonta Smith, Mekhi Lemon, should be a mid-first rounder. I think, he's a very fun, more of a slot receiver, but he's gotten some comps like Amon-Ra, a little bigger Amon-Ra. I think it's fair. So I like his upside. Want to see his landing spot, but yeah, pick 60, sign me up. Jalen Waddle should be a number 1 Miami. Jacoby Myers, Travis Hunter, 2 pieces of the Jags offense. That seems like a good thing going forward. Liam Cohen seems to know what he's doing. And then 2 rookies I mentioned earlier, where I like his late round picks. Then Brendan Strange, another Jags piece. Juwan Johnson, just huge value where we're getting him. And then Travis Kelce. So even if Kelce retires, you got Strange and Juwan Johnson. I think that's pretty good. All right, we will get into another draft in a second. Let me hit up chat first. GAB, I had 20% Javonte last baseball season. I don't like his current ADP this time around. I don't know. See, that was the thing. I only had like 5% Javonte. And honestly, pre-draft, I think I might have had 0 or maybe 1%. Because I just was so, even after he signed with Dallas, I was like, they're drafting somebody, et cetera, et cetera. And then he got banged up first, but he came back before him. And then Miles Sanders and Blue got banged up, and even Maffa. So he was a little bit of the last man standing. And Sanders got injured early in the year. He truly ran away with the role. I mean, like 1,200 yards, really good year. I don't currently worry about like Blue or Maffa or anyone taking on a much bigger role. I think they bring in some other back, sure. But they seem to like Javonte. I think his contract will tell the tale if they offer him, I don't know if he'll get like what DeAndre Swift got from the Bears a couple years ago, but somewhere in that neighborhood, probably more like what Monty got his first contract with the Lions. I think that was around $6 million a year. If he gets something like that, like 3 years, 18 million, maybe 3 years, 20 million, something like that, I think that will tell us they do believe in Javonte, and he'll be a good pickup. I went in Algier, beat Rob Najee in Kansas City, then draft Emmett Johnson. There you go. No, I mean, I think those are the types of backs. I mean, Algier, and you list them roughly. I mean, honestly, I think Najee's probably better back overall than B-Rob. They'll come back from an injury. But Algier, I think those backs could fully take over the role. I mean, if they do that and draft Emmett Johnson, Rashard Smith probably doesn't have value. But I think it could be good one way or the other. Appreciate you joining us, Jordan. Lehman's always picking my team in draft or pass. When you take that many bills, of course. When Iron Manor is on the winning, but again, this is that's why I never understood why you got rid of McDermott, and to risk getting rid of Joe Brady, because Joe Brady was good with the Bills. Like, again, top 4 offense. I think they were 3 the year before. Just look real quick. 4-4 in yards and scoring this past year. Year before that, 2 in points, 10 in yards. When Joe Brady took over from Dorsey, 6 in points, 4th in yards. So pretty good consistency there for the Bills. That's why I don't mind Allen and Cook's high prices. Penix has a new note on UD that will increase his price. So, I mean, I've seen these mixed things. Let me just look at this note. Because I know PPR Tyler was talking about that Stefanski was positive, but then I saw Stefanski say, I can't figure out my quarterback until we figure out the GM. Expects to be ready for week 1. Okay. So at least it's that and not the Stefanski stuff. I mean, he could be ready for week 1. We hear that a lot, though. But I agree. Like, people will react to that. I'm pretty sure this time they were saying Jonathan Brooks would be ready week 1, but I could be wrong. I definitely know they were. I mean, we were hearing some wild Brandon Ayuk reports, positive reports that did not happen. I'm going to manifest the top 2 pick for me in the next draft. So I'm in all basketball spirits come my aid. Good luck. Got kicks. What do you think about a chain? So a chain, it's tough. I mean, I know some people hate Mike McDaniel. I think he's a great offensive line. I think he was good for a chain. Well, for other pieces in that offense. And, maybe Bobby Slow Jr. got a raw deal with the Texans. I don't know. He definitely is going to have less to work with in Miami. Ideally, he features a chain. Mixon, had a good year for the Texans, though not like massive yards per carry or anything like that, but just good fantasy year. I want to see the quarterback. I want to see, if they add some offensive line. I'm not going to know that for a while, I feel like. So I'll take him essentially at cost, end of the first round. But I do worry that there's not a lot of surplus value there. Like, for as good as a player that Achane is, I don't know if he really has a shot to be like RB1. And honestly, being RB5 could be tough because there's a lot of talented backs, including guys currently being taken after, guys like Saquon, guys like Genty. If their situations get better, they could easily jump up. I mean, Derrick Henry. Even some guys were taken a couple rounds later. So I worry we're taking him at his peak, but I still think that peak has value, is I guess how I'll say it. Goodbye, Bengal, checking in. Hope you're doing well. As also, Aaron Johnson has a funky looking build to me. Legs appear skinny for his body. I don't know, but something scares me about this guy. He does run a bit upright, but I think he is I think he's very good pass catcher, one of the best in the class. I think he has some of the best vision. He kind of similar to Cam Scatterville a year ago. Different body builds, do not get me wrong, but great contact balance, great at picking up extra yards, great at turning that 5-yard gain into an 8-yard gain, that 10-yard gain into a 15-yard gain, etc. Very rarely goes down on first contact. And sure, some of that changes in the NFL, of course. First contact's a lot bigger and tougher. But I think he's got really good vision. So I like his contact balance. I like his vision. His speed is, I think, good, not great, maybe even very good. But I think he is kind of a poor man's, kind of like a Swift. Like his true peak upside would be, a Gibbs Cook. But I don't think he's got that in him. But his like 80% outcome is probably like a Swiftish type back. And I think, I could see him hitting that. Yeah, do agree he runs upright, but not always the knock that people make it out to be. I think when you know to have that lateral movement and you have good vision and good feel, he just has a good feel for holes, good feel for or I bring up Scatterville, and what a lot of good runners do. It's not so much that they always run over contact. I mean, Scatterville, Saquon, these backs do that. But what they're so great at is not letting guys get a clean hit on them. Like, they're going to take the hit, but they do that, half a foot move where instead of getting hit cleanly, where they're going to have no chance of breaking the tackle, they have a chance to keep their feet. They have a chance to break that tackle, to turn a shoulder tackle into an arm tackle, to turn a heavy blow into a glancing blow. And you watch Emmett Johnson, I think he does that pretty well. Kind of a one-year wonder at Nebraska. He worked his way up, and this last year took off. So, always a bit concerned there, but I'm a fan. I like him. I just don't want to overdo it because he'd easily be a third-round pick or something. No, and that is fair because this class in general does not get a lot of hype. And the other thing is having so many free agents move around. Where are the open spots going to be? You run into the situation where, like Trey Benson was a third rounder, but he went to a situation clearly behind, and Blake Horn. They were two of the earliest backs taken after Jonathan Brooks, who we knew wasn't going to play as a rookie or play early as a rookie. But they both went to clear situations where they were going to be the number two and had no chance to be above a number two. So you run into that risk, absolutely. And, look, I mean, that's what happened to Tootin, who was an early fourth rounder, Caleb Johnson, a late third rounder. They just didn't have much chance to move up the depth chart because of how the team was structured, what their goals, what the team's particular goals were. Like in the case of the Steelers, wanting more veteran backs. That's why Gainwell got on the field. We got Greg checking in. Katron Allen, fantastic blocking, but no pass catching. Yeah, I mean, part of that is Singleton is such a good pass catcher. He's arguably the best pass catching running back in this class. But Allen is, boy, the Penn State backs are tough because they offer like 80% of what they each offer about 80% of what you want. And obviously combined, they were the perfect 1-2 punch in Penn State. So they need to go to a place where they'll get the right role. Katron Allen is not going to do much. He can block, as you mentioned. He's not going to do much out of the backfield. So he has to do it mainly through carries. He's got to go to a situation where he's going to get 15 to 20 carries a game. He can, do some goal line work or short yardage work as well. But yeah, he's going to add very little, I think, as a pass catcher. Nick Singleton can be a home run hitter. He can be an excellent pass catcher. He also is a very good pass blocker. And he can work in the goal line because he's 6 foot 220. But he's probably not a guy I want to give 20 carries a game because he, to me, is kind of the opposite of Emmett Johnson. He doesn't have great vision. He also doesn't do that great job of just turn that blow into a glancing blow, and you'll at 6 foot 220, you will run over those guys every time. He needs to learn that. That's not always a learnable skill, but he's fine. I mean, he's fine from a fantasy perspective. He can rack up touchdowns, rack up catches. Katron Allen is going to be more racking up carries, yards, and touchdowns. So they both have their role, but neither one's perfect. We checked out Jam Miller. He looked like a nice all-around back. Yeah, bit of to me, an inconsistent year at Oklahoma or Alabama. Oklahoma. I think he's a day 3 pick, probably more like a 5th, 6th rounder would be my guess. But I haven't really considered him much from a fantasy perspective. Some of those guys, JCM, Monangai, Woody Marks, etc., get roles that we want or situations that we want. So I personally haven't done too deep of a dive on him, just because I don't think I haven't been wowed by him. But definitely a guy I want to look at more. See what he runs, his metrics are, etc. But hasn't jumped off the table for me. Not a guy I'm going to look at pre-draft. If he ends up being a 4th round pick or an early 5th round pick and gets a nice landing spot, yeah, I'll start to consider him quite a bit more. All right, let's get into another draft. Probably just do one more. So I will count it down. Enter in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enter. And we are waiting on 4 now. Just for a programming note, as I mentioned, we'll be on Sibling Showdown tonight with Meg at 8. Tomorrow, I will not do an afternoon, like this kind of afternoon stream. Meg and I are going to do a prop party stream, I think, at 5 p.m. And of course, the Degen Dads go at night. Saturday or Sunday, probably at least one of those days I will do a stream. Probably sometime afternoon, early evening. Haven't figured it out yet, but just wanted to give that heads up. So I got the second pick. We got Peanut Punch in here. We got FK. We got Ant. We got Young Moolah. We got Kramer. Young Moolah did not get the 101 or 102. Sorry about that. Apparently your, prayers to the best ball spirits went my way getting the number 2 there. So for me, I have Taylor ranked above. So if I had the 3rd or 4th pick, would I take Taylor? Sure, but I'd probably right now still be more likely to take JSN or Puka or Chase, just because you can get Taylor, at 5, 6, 7, 8. Can't really get those guys there. So yeah, I will go Gibbs. I'm pretty much locked in Gibbs number 2. Well, I'd some point take a receiver there, sure. But right now, I'm a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. So Hooneems is getting the number 1 pick. I must have some evil spirits surrounding me for cleansing. Well, hopefully you start landing that spot. So, yeah, I mean, we talked about a chain, and this is the thing, like, probably not a guy I'm taking above 10, but 10, 11, 12, or about the second, absolutely. We know the upside of a chain. It's just, can he continue that without one big game? That's going to be the question. I'll be interested to see where these 3 receivers, London, Neighbors, Jefferson, are. I feel most confident in London. Neighbors next, and then Jefferson. I am lower until we get a clear indication of what the quarterback situation is. I'm hoping they bring the veteran. I really am. Coming up in 6. Right now, I don't have any Jeremiah Love. His ADP, it's just a little rich for me. Talked about this a couple streams ago. Like, I don't think he's as good. He honestly could go around the same pick as Genty. I don't think he's as good a prospect as Genty. Now, if he goes to the Kansas City, yeah, sure. I like it. Saints, Washington, okay. But I think he's much closer to a prospect like Hampton. So the fact that Hampton, even after like the Najee High stuff was going late 30s, early 40s, and we're taking what we knew to be a good offense. And, I mean, we didn't know about the Rashad Slater stuff until late. The fact that we are taking Love just considerably. I really wanted Nico. So mix it up. We got a lot of Pickens. I'll go Pickens though. Just too good of an offense to ignore. And the fact that we weren't taking Hampton until late, sometimes mid 30s, but usually late 30s, early 40s. And we're taking Love at 20, 21. It just doesn't feel right, especially when are these backs like Chase Brown, Higgins, etc. I'm going to bring up Kenneth Walker. I said it last time. I think he gets franchised and returns to Seattle, or maybe a long-term deal. And I don't expect Charbonnet to be back anytime soon. So I think he's going to go. Granted, they probably will have a new offense coordinator. That can be a worry at times, but yeah, I think he could do quite a good year, big year next year. Yesterday was 0 RB, today robust. I like it. Well, honestly, I like mixing it up. Thoughts on Mike Evans ads? I have like 80% so far. Mike Evans ADP. Okay, so Mike Evans ads. Mike Evans ADP, I think it's good. 60-ish. For a guy who every healthy year has been like a top 15 receiver. I wrote a piece last year talking about Mike Evans and Devontae Adams and Steph Diggs and saying there was surplus value for all of them that ended up only being for Adams and Diggs, because even with Adams getting hurt, he had so much surplus value, even from a mid or late third rounder, mid to late third rounder. And, Evans probably would have if he didn't get hurt. So I'm fine going back down that road again. And Diggs, obviously, plenty of value. Not that he reached the same peak as like Devontae Adams did, or what historically Evans has been, but Evans historically has been a top 12 receiver. And I don't think there's, it's not going to shock me if he's that again next year, if he can stay healthy. Health is a factor, but we shouldn't double count it. And this was my point last year with like Diggs coming off an injury, is we're probably double counting the injury and Diggs's age and all this stuff and saying, like he's injured, he can't pay off. Well, it's okay. Yeah, I get that. But if he's not injured, he's going to massively outperform this, and we should value that. Evans ADP now 70. Absolutely good with his at this ADP. What I would say is, particularly pre-draft, particularly before he signs on the dotted line with the Bucks, I'm not going to go crazy, just because there are some weird situations that maybe it doesn't work out with the Bucks. Maybe, I'd also love to see the Bucks maybe trade Jalen McMillan to just make it a Evans and Buka Godwin passing offense. There were some little things there that could be a factor, but Evans, 70 is right around where Diggs was going last year. Diggs was going a little later. When I wrote the article, and it's sort of like, wide receiver for ADP 70 is currently going as wide receiver 35. I will go out on the limb and say if Mike Evans is healthy for even what he was 2 years ago when he missed 3 games, he crushed that. So, yeah. Coming up in 3. I was hoping for Loveland. I don't think I have any Loveland yet. Or so only one. I'll take Devonta Smith here. Just consistency. 4 touchdowns last year, but just a lot of consistency there. Missed a couple games. That's why he didn't crack 1,000. And if somehow AJ Brown is traded, that's positive. Even if not, I do think the offense coordinator just has to be better. It was bad last year. You should not have that level of talent. And they were way healthier last year than they were 2 years ago when they were a much better offense. That's the other part of it. Do you want to go with one of the rookies? I'll go Tate here. I think, landing spot will matter, but just a lot of good early landing spots for the rookie receivers. I think it's Tate and Tyson 1 and 2, whichever way it ends up being. I know some people like Lemon above them. Could be, but I think Tate and Tyson are both probably top 10 picks. I prefer Tyson over Tate, but I think they're both really good. Great. Nothing too crazy so far in this draft, and that's the one thing we're seeing. Sometimes you see like Kyle Pitts fall, but I think it's just people drafting him right. Like most of these, I haven't seen too many wild things in these drafts so far. I think a lot of it is, people are kind of normalizing these ADPs a bit. So I think soon we will see Kyle Pitts behind Tyler Warren. I think that's where he should be. Quarterbacks aren't moving up too crazy. In fact, most are moving down slightly. Burrow moving up a little bit. Daniels moving up a little bit. And I do think Daniels and Hurts should both be above Dart, so I think that's fair. So coming up at 71. One situation, I'll be honest, I don't know what to do with is the Arizona situation. I don't think these ADPs are efficient for both Wilson and Harrison to be essentially next to each other. And this high. Oh, Hurts goes. That's who I wanted. That did not turn out well for me. So, hey, dude, I'm just going to take Pierce again because I'm not really a fan of these two ADPs, especially with McBride being so high. That makes it even less likely that these two things can be right. So, Hurts steal is not fun. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence. Consider Dart. Go Lawrence. You can sometimes backstack. I mean, definitely backstack him with Strange. But I just didn't like this range. And anyways, I was looking up last year's numbers, weekly fantasy leaders, and Mike Evans missing 3 games. In terms of total points, half point PPR in 2024 was wide receiver 9. He missed 3 games. And it was truly 3.5 games. If you remember that Ravens game, he got injured right before halftime. So yeah, I think he can pay off his current ATP. So yesterday, the Underdog did the playoff pods, or Super Bowl pods. I'm not sure if Paul is still in here, but he was talking about it. I did see that BBMD is now updated, so you can truly look at what rosters are. It's a 375-man contest. I know he only has 3 guys, Darnold, Walker, JSN, but I think those are the right 3 guys to have. May and Stevenson kind of being the other pivots there. But yeah, there's a lot of teams that have no one, 100 teams that have no one in the Super Bowl, which is wild, out of a 375-man contest. So over 25%, about, was that 30-some percent, 31%, don't have a single player. So those who do, and particularly a few really good players, like he has, I think in top 150 lineups are really going to be interesting. All right, up in 5. I'm at 1240. Let's see if Jacoby comes back to me. He does not. That's unfortunate. All right. Well, I will take Dak. His second stack. Well, first stack, second quarterback. I'll take Denzel Boston if he's back, or DJ Moore. I think either one makes sense for where I'm at. Go running back, Rico, but I do that a lot. Yeah, I'll go DJ Moore. Like I said, hopefully he gets traded. I think that can be interesting. Definitely could find a better role, just because I do worry if he stays in Chicago. Again, I don't want 0 of them, but if he stays in Chicago, I think he could be like the 4th guy in the passing offense behind Loveland, Vernon, and Dunze. Nice, Peanut. What mitten are you in? Is it the mitten 1? So good luck to you as well. Because we talked about this a lot yesterday, but it's particularly not even the return stuff, which still I think is going to have plenty of 0 lineups, but you can't. I don't think you could have first a gauntlet or any of the regular mittens. I don't think you could advance a Seattle team, like 5-man Seattle team, to be fully covered for the Super Bowl. You could potentially with the Patriots. I think it would have been a hard path, but so in the number of teams, there seem to be very few teams that have both sides, very few teams that have full rosters. So mitten 1. So there you go. Hopefully, good luck. What is your team in the mitten 1? I can bring it up. So mitten 1. I'm looking at BBMD now. P-Punch. So yeah, I got it up. Let's see. You have Darnold, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre, JSN, Diggs, Henry Sheed. Wow, that is a good team. I think you were in, even in a situation where May outscores Darnold, so many May teams are not going to fill a full roster. So many of them, if they're filling out full rosters, they're not with Walker, Stevenson, JSN, Diggs, Henry, Sheed. I mean, these are the guys you want. I mean, could Cup outscore Sheed, of course. Could Varner outscore Henry, of course. But I probably the top 5 guys plus some insurance. Ramondre and Walker, Jason and Diggs. So that looks very fun. I think you're gonna have quite the sweat. I can't wait. Excuse me. Can't wait to see that. 16 possible lineups that will result in 20K plus, but plenty with small returns too. One team has me completely covered plus May. So, I mean, so that's crazy that somebody else pulled that team through plus May. That's very wild. Good on them. But okay, you guys finished 1-2. Guessing you'll be pretty happy with that outcome. Let me make these picks and then want to talk about more because I do think it's fun, especially this year. It's totally wild this year. All right, Brenton Strange, come on down. Well, I do think Monty could be gone. I don't know if I want to take on Gibbs' team here just in case he is not. But we'll see what comes back to me. Definitely not a fan of JCM. I will probably be moving him down in my next rankings. Just the more I look at it, the less I feel confident about it. So Big Country goes Monty Johnson. I'll go Katron Allen. Oh, nice. Joel is mitten 3, so we got somebody mitten 1, Peanut Punch. Paul's mitten 2, Joel mitten 3. That's exciting, Joel. Yeah, this year's playoff basketball is absolutely crazy. Just so few teams are fully covered, much less would you have Peanut. Let me look at the mitten 3 and Joel's team. What's your team name? I can't remember if it is Worth or Joel or what. Let's see if I can see it. J-Dubs, that's right. So yeah, these are fun to look at. I didn't do many, so I wasn't expecting a big off-season playoff return. J-Dubs 1035. Wow. Yeah, you have the highest expected value. Yeah, you have May, Darnold, Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, Jason, and Diggs. So both quarterbacks in can fill out our roster. Don't have any, insurance guys like Peanut does, but having both quarterbacks does help because you're covered either way. That is awesome. Definitely can see a path. I mean, look, if I'm sure Peanut wants it to be Darnold, then you guys are both printing some money, and so does Paul, because I know he's got the Darnold side of it. But yeah, you guys are in really good spots. So congrats on that. That is exciting. And so yeah, you had Charbonnet also. So you had both sides of the Seattle backfield. Coming up, 2 more picks here. I'm taking them early because I always forget to take them. And receiver, I want it to be Hunter, but let's see if he pushes 2 picks from me. There we go. It says likely to play more defense. I also we'll see what Liam Cohen says. That's how I see it. And I just think he's too good to stay on the defensive side. He's just way too talented of a receiver. I know they're logjam right now, but I don't mind taking some 150-ish shots, 145, 150 shots on 100. Right, so I'm sitting at 2,461. I'll be waiting on tight end. I'm going to try and add a third quarterback. Running back, probably need more help. I mean, kind of double anchor, double rookie here. Not terrible, not great. Receiver feels stronger. So all right. I appreciate everyone for joining me in these drafts in chat. Don't forget to hit the like button. We appreciate all your support. And like I said, if you're not part of our Fanspeak Degen, our Substack, but also our free Discord. Discord's there's links for both below. Discord is 100% free. Plenty of good conversation going on there. And just looking to grow that and make it bigger and bigger. Quarterback drop off. I'm not really doing it from an Alec Pierce back in Indy standpoint, but just having a third quarterback I feel good about. And we will see what's here running back or receiver wise. So we're gonna go Sean Tucker. I think White is another free agent who could land at a decent spot. But Sean Tucker is probably the number 2 back, probably the goal line back for Tampa. Feels like enough value for 170. I think he's a solid click in this range. It's just one of those things, like, we know they're a good offense. Cleveland, Sampson could be the number 2 back, and I like Sampson as a player, but I'll take the better offense. And Bigsby's going to split work with Shipley, and so just in terms of other running backs in that range, it really is thinned out at this point. And I'll still take some of them. Like, I still want to take some White. I will still take some Sampson, because I think he's clearly the number 2. Tucker just feels like he should probably go Brown Downs later. Like, Tucker feels like he should go 10 picks higher. Maybe more. All right, 11 picks away. 611. Down in quarterback. Still probably waiting on tight end. Feel pretty good at strength. Strange would be my anchor. Some rookies. Horton and Williams, I think, are interesting second-year guys. Harris, I'm definitely well ahead on. Iron Manor, I think, is fine. Bateman, Mims, all these guys. DK, who FK got. Mixon, I think that's a good pick. Yeah. A lot of upside. Maybe we'll go tight end because the other positions thinned out. I think you can make a case for either Rams tight end. Parkinson feels a little safer. Probably more a floor than ceiling. But overall, I think that's fine. All right, I'm up again. Let's take a rookie shot here. Jerry Bernard. Whose career is more cooked, Fields or Anthony Richardson? Oof, good question. Richardson, look, I think there's a lot of issues there. Just his actual ability on the field, his work ethic, and then he needs to stay healthy. I mean, guy gets injured warming up for games. It's just not great. He got injured. He barely played in preseason. That wasn't injured there. And I get that happens, but it just seems it starts adding up. And then it also, I know there's been reports in the past, like from his rookie year, they didn't like how he rehabbed and stuff like that. So you just wonder how that's going. I think both need to change scenery. I think Fields is definitely done with the Jets. But here's the thing, like Fields, well, fantasy-wise, he can give you upside. He's just not a good quarterback. Like his 4-2 with the Steelers is light years better than what he's done in 2 other stops. He's under contract, but I expect them to cut him. I don't think there's a trade market for him. There might be a trade market for Anthony Richardson, like a 5th rounder in return. So I could see that happening once they bring back Daniel Jones, maybe bring in a vet, have Riley Leonard. That would be how I imagine it. But I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to get a starting gig somewhere. I think he's going to have to work his way, as a backup. And even then, no guarantees. Fields, for a team that, say, needs a spot starter, I think they might turn to Fields a little bit more. But I think both are on the backup train for right now, big time. Hey, I mean, it's not my joke. I saw it on Twitter, but he pulled out of the Bills coaching search. No, I mean, it's just, the evidence seems to stack up. It's not like Daniel Jones has been the world beater, right? Like he was generally considered a failed top 10 pick, a failed, quarterback. And yet he clearly the coaching staff went out and got him. They wanted, they knew they needed to get him. Make these picks. Tight end. I'll do a lot of rookies. Haven't done a lot yet. I'll do Michael Trigg. Strange, Parkinson, Trigg. Feels good. I know there was like that 3-week window in the summer where people said Richardson was out playing Daniel Jones. I think that was all fugazi. That was never the case. I wish I never drafted any Anthony Richardson on the basis of those reports. I think that's on me as much as anything, of course. But I feel like he lost the trust of the coaching staff, and honestly lost the trust of the team. Like, the team was not happy that he was pulling himself out of games, and reportedly how he was like working out and stuff like that. So I don't consider Daniel Jones a great leader of men, but I think it was clear he had the team support behind him, and that's it. Just as I talk about like Justin Jefferson having a big say in JJ McCarthy's future, I think Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman and these guys had a big say in Anthony Richardson. They went out and supported him, and the coach Steichen saw that. Yeah, Richardson would probably still be getting shots, but I don't think so. For me, it was just, I originally, for most of the summer, I thought the Richardson former, fourth overall pick was going to be enough pressure to have him start at some point in the year. And granted, he still could have this year had he not injured himself working out pregame when Daniel Jones got hurt. But I also think they probably quietly were like, we're okay with this. So I definitely drafted a little of him when he was, free in the 17th, 18th round. But yeah, definitely regret that. Anthony Richardson is also one. Yeah. No, this was me pressuring Hugh Ames into Caleb Johnson. I was shocked that he never got a true chance, particularly with how bad it was early on with Jaylen Warren. Warren played better down the stretch, given some of the easier matchups, but and Gainwell just kind of, in many ways, outplaying both, obviously. But Caleb Johnson, a third rounder, not even sniffing an opportunity when he doesn't even have like Kyron Williams ahead of him is wild to me. So we'll make a last pick here. Does thin out at running back, that is for sure. I generally like making my last pick at tight end or wide receiver, which is a lot better names still on the board here, both these positions. But you got to mix it up sometimes. Ollie, Chris Rodriguez, even Pacheco, Jamar Taylor is a fine rookie, Jim Wright. Not guys that are awful. Justice Hill. I've done Hemby before. I will go Ollie Gordon. Jones rug pulled me real bad his last season with the Giants, so I was out. Yeah, I was kind of the same because I didn't think they would. I didn't think Daniel Jones was a great quarterback, but I didn't think they would bench him, and I knew there was some contract risk, but most of the time teams just don't give a shit about that. They really don't. And when your options behind him were Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, it didn't seem like there was a big benching threat, but they did. And good draft. I like my last team better. I'll go over the picks in a second. I'm pretty strong picks with Balsa Wood. That is true. I'm a sucker for Anthony Richardson in one of these years, right? I mean, the thing I'll say, and we are seeing this every year, Daniel Jones being one of the most recent examples. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold went from the biggest bust in the world with the Jets. Goes to Carolina, has a few interesting starts there, and backup year in San Fran. But his back-to-back 14-win years is playing in the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield, what a redemption arc. Geno Smith, another former Jets bust. Took a longer route, but stayed at it and had a good little run there. So these busted players can still find a second, third life, or they could go like the Jameis Winston route or Marcus Mariota, the guys who were considered busts. Carson Wentz, got some starting opportunities in Washington Colts, didn't do well, but is bounced around as a backup. Maybe they'll will be guys like Richardson's future. But if you do that long enough, maybe you get the opportunity to redeem yourself like a Geno, like a Daniel Jones, etc. If he's smart, he attaches himself to a really good offensive mind. He's already had one, which is not a great look. But go under Sean McVay, go under Kyle Shanahan, see if they'll take you. Honestly, I think that was good for Trey Lance to go with the Chargers. I know they just fired Greg Roman, but that's a good. Sometimes you need to be in good, stable situations. And now the problem is the Colts. I know, Irsay, rest in peace. Not stable in his own right, but relatively stable as a team, as a franchise. And the Dodgers seem to really have that under control. I think that's a very good feature going forward. But the problem is Steichen is a really good offensive mind, and it's not working with him. So I do think he needs to change scenery. Hopefully he can go somewhere and learn and develop. As a number 2 quarterback, I'd flip a 6th rounder, 5th rounder for him, sure, for a number of teams. Yeah, releasing Daniel Jones. I think that was, they worked out a deal with him because they didn't want him disgruntled in the building. And, that's why I say things like, I don't see any way both Kyler and Jacoby Brissett are on the Cardinals. Like one will be. If they choose Kyler, they'll trade Jacoby. If they choose Brissett, they're trading Kyler. Anthony Rich says the quarterback Rashard Bateman of Jameis would feed or destroy feelings. That's the thing. Because he needs to go to a place with an established quarterback where there's no pressure for him to start. You don't want. I actually think that would be a terrible play. Even though I love Kevin O'Connell, and I think Kevin O'Connell helped with guys like Baker and helped with guys like not Baker, Darnold. Helped with guys like Daniel Jones, even the short time there. But I think he should not be starting like Trey Lance. There was no pressure for Trey Lance to start. He got in a little bit because Herbert got banged up or some garbage time, but zero pressure for Trey Lance to start, right? I think that we'll see if that changes the trajectory of Trey Lance's career, but I think that's a much better situation for him. If he could go somewhere and sit, even if it's as a third quarterback somewhere, learn. I would just say learn, have no pressure, reset your career and learn would be the ideal. I guess my problem is they're just pressure situations. I don't think he's ready to start right now. And I know people say, well, he didn't start a lot in high school and college and he needs the time, same as the Trey Lance thing. It's like, I'm sorry, that's not a ringing endorsement. I don't think you should get your starting licks in the NFL as a starter. Now, I think he needs to stay healthy. I think ideally what he needs is time as a number 2 quarterback. Do you get as many reps as a backup quarterback? Of course not. But developing as a backup is better than developing, quote unquote, injured, like say they said with JJ McCarthy, or they've said with Anthony Richardson. Remember, we heard this year too. Oh, well, he learned all the reps even though he missed all that time year 1. No, he didn't. And that's the problem. Is last year it would have been great as if he had the whole year backing up and getting those reps. Instead, it was Riley Leonard. So I think he needs to reset. And honestly, it could be the same for Justin Fields. He ended up being the backup for the Steelers for most of the year, but I honestly think that could be the best thing for him. And we talk about this with Mac Jones. People want to trade for him. Same draft class as Lance and Justin Fields. clear, was fine as a rookie, but then never had it anymore. Now we're seeing, oh, hey, Kyle has worked his magic and maybe he deserves a starting chance again. Let him develop on the bench for a year, but actually on the bench, not in the injury trainer's room. Be what I'd love to see for him. Rich was a few years too early. He may develop. Yep, I 100% agree with the statement. We're seeing this more and more. Not that they all hit, but these quarterbacks are staying longer in college, like a Carson Beck, like Cam Ward. Cam Ward could have come out the year before. Granted, a much more talented quarterback class. He did the right thing. He got some money, but got more development as a number one pick. You see this Carson Beck this year. We see this with, honestly, Bo Nix and Michael Penix, and Jaden Daniels. They all got to stay all this extra time in college, and it paid off for them big time. So I 100% agree with this. Had Richardson been able to take advantage of this more, and he could have, because that's right when NIL was starting, but he decided the NFL route because I think people overhyped, and it, it's a quarterback media lead, unfortunately. And here's the crazy thing. This was always the Parcells thing. The Parcells rules were, you had to complete a certain percentage and start so many games, win so many games. And are they all fluid? But no, but the starting is pretty clear. We do see some few exceptions. I also think it's timed in college, just time developing. You learn a lot. These guys who come out after 2 or 3 years have just not been the same. Particularly if it's 3 years and they didn't start a lot. So I think there's guys like Drake May and Caleb Williams who started their entire college run. Different story. But no, I think there's a lot in just getting there, learning, developing. And I think Mendoza is going to be fine. He doesn't have a ton of starts overall, and a lot was with bad Cal team, but his ability to move to a good situation obviously really panned out. We got Gamble staying in here saying hi. Hope you're doing well. Most of them don't accept. Yeah, that's my thing, and I get it. I get it can be tough for early first round picks, but the reality is, historically speaking, so many first rounders rarely started day one rookies, and there are exceptions, the Peyton Mannings, right? But Eli didn't start till week 10. Donovan McNabb was week 9. Ben Roethlisberger ended up starting early as Tommy Maddox got hurt. Phillip Rivers, as we know, sat multiple years. Aaron Rodgers sat multiple years. Carson Palmer sat his entire rookie year. Patrick Mahomes essentially his entire rookie year. You can just go down and on. And of course, later round quarterbacks who develop or undrafted guys, the Tony Romos, the Kurt Warners, they of course were sitting and developing. Drew Brees started some as a rookie, but not full time, and we saw it. It took a few years for him. Tom Brady obviously sat. Behind Bledsoe. So we see it time and time again, and I don't think it has to be that hard and fast so much, but I think you have to have patience, you have to have an understanding, and it's like Drake May didn't start. Jacoby Brissett started those first couple games, then May took over, and we saw flashes. Obviously, it wasn't the right team, wasn't the right system, etc. But we see year 2, it worked out pretty well. Caleb Williams, he did start day 1, but definitely not the right team, right system. They built around him, worked out pretty well. So that's my take on these young rookie quarterbacks: is have some patience, develop. And I hate what we see with Cam Ward, where midway through the year his coach is fired. It's just, that is never a good recipe. So I feel bad. That's why, and same thing with Jackson Dart, same situation. Honestly, Tyler Shark was in the best situation, got to sit as a stable coach going forward, same system. It'd be nice. He needs to go to the Chiefs. That would be a fun landing spot. All right, got to run. Kids wanting dinner, fun hanging out. Sheep funds, golden tickets. Shoot, yeah, no, that I was talking, Kix mentioned that earlier. I agree. You take notes from the Packers 3 for, yeah. No, and you sit and develop. Does it always have to be 3 years? No. But I think having some patience, like, Matt Stafford started early, and he was kind of like, yeah, Richardson. He missed a lot of time his first 2 years, took lumps. But I just think you need to have patience and develop these guys. The problem is the coaches can know if they're getting it or not, right? Sometimes you learn pretty quickly if it's the right situation or not. And I feel like Anthony Richardson, the tough thing is when you have a good coach saying, no, this is not the right fit. And that's why I worry about Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy. I believe in Kevin O'Connell. And if he's saying he can't win it with JJ McCarthy or have functional offense with JJ McCarthy, that's a tough situation. I mean, I don't think Love is in the MVP conversation like Favre and then Rodgers was, but I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a very good quarterback. In terms of fantasy, he doesn't run enough, and he's probably never going to throw for 45 touchdowns like Stafford. So he takes a bit of a dip there, but I think he's good. He's good to lead his team to the playoffs, be a competitive team. So I think that qualifies franchise. But I don't think he's top 5 like previous Packers 2 quarterbacks were during their peaks. All right. I didn't even look at it over the draft. Well, I do want to look over that. Real quick, I had the second pick, 3683, Lawrence Prescott, so more expensive with top 2 quarterbacks. Still got DJ Daniel Jones, and Gibbs, Walker. Then I went to double rookie. Then Sean Tucker, Ollie Gordon. So kind of like 2 very early, 2 in the mid, 2 late. I feel pretty good about that. I think at least one of those rookies, potentially both, end up with really good spots. I do, as I mentioned, I think Tucker is probably going a round or 2 too late. Pickens, Devonta as my receiver anchors, but I think Tate is right there with them. Pierce in the 70s, I will consistently be interested in. DJ Moore pushing 100. Hopefully he gets a moves. I think then there's a much better chance that pays off. Hunter, almost 150. I think that can pay off. And then Bernard and Mims. Feel good about those. Another rookie. Bernard, I'm excited to see what he can do. Strange, kind of my anchor tight end, but Colby Parkinson, I think is fine. And then a rookie in Michael Trigg. So pretty solid team overall. I mean, could nitpick here and there. And going 3-6-9-2. Justin Herbert, Michael Penix, Tua, so Herbert at kind of is your anchor quarterback. Penix probably feel pretty decent about. Tua might end up starting somewhere. Just don't know where. Henry, Chase Brown, really like that 1-2 punch. Blake Corum, Woody Marks, Tyron Tracy, Tajay Spears. Yeah, I mean, pretty solid. Obviously each one of those guys carry a question mark, and Corum the least amount. But all could pay off that ADP and all have at least the possibility of surplus value. Chase, Adams, Christian Watson, really strong big 3. Jaden Higgins, I think, is a really good value right now. Probably should be going more in the 85 to 105 range in my book. It's like a pretty clear number 2 receiver with touchdown upside. Donnie Mitchell, definitely flashed some at the end of the year, but Jets are such a mess, as we talked about. Love the Troy Franklin value. Io Manor, we'll see where, whether he's the 1, 2, or 3 in Tennessee. We don't know yet, but even if he's the 3, I think 197 is fair. Darnell Mooney could get cut, but if he sticks in Atlanta, there's a good chance to be number 2 again. And then Flournoy, I think, is Cowboys' number 3 receiver. So pretty good there. And then Warren Gadsden, that's a fun second year tight end room with a ton of upside. We got Peanut Punch next, 2-6-9-3. Lamar, Darnold. So 2 clear starters. I mean, if Lamar stays healthy, and particularly if their buys don't overlap, you can easily be fine with that. JT, Love, Bucky, very strong running back room at the top. I'm taking Kamara, which has the upside to be the starter. Sampson should clearly be the number 2. Ray Davis, definitely the probably the truest of handcuffed backs. Like, not much of, probably not much value without a Cook injury, but if anytime Cook's injured, I think there could be a ton of value. Ibuka, BTJ, QJ, Shakir, Worthy. So a lot of early picks that like not avoided the first 4 rounds. Then, I think you caught up by quantity in this like 5 through 10 round range, and joined Jennings as well. Then tacked on 3 more important, Cooper and Bateman, which I find with all those. Cooper Jr. is talked about rookie before. That's a rookie receiver. Not sure entirely where we'll go in the draft. Probably 3rd round, but really like his run catchability. Ferg, Andrews, and Kelsey. So, veteran tight end group, but good offenses, and definitely, even if Kelsey retires, plenty of insurance there with the top 2 guys. FK 3683, Goff, Baker, Mariota. As I've mentioned, only taken him I think 1 time so far, but Mariota is like my quarterback who's not a starter, but I think will end up as a starter somewhere. Kind of the poor man's Malik Willis. I think everyone's kind of targeting from Malik Willis, but I think Mariota could be in that boat as well. Jacobs, Hendo, kind of your anchoring the backfield. Tootin, Gainwell. Gainwell's a tough one for me. We saw what he could do at Pittsburgh. I just don't know if enough teams will value him enough where he gets a good landing spot. If he does, I think that's a steal of a price. If not, I worry he's like a number 3 somewhere. Hopefully he goes to a situation where he can clearly be a number 2. I'll take him a little bit. I don't want to be overweight. Vidal, I think, has some nice value there. I don't see the Chargers really adding to the running back room right now. And if so, I think Vidal is number 2 good value. And this is what I don't get about, why is Emmanuel Wilson, 50 spots later? Isn't he the same thing? Good offense, clear number 2 back. He's done even more, etc. So, I like Adele's value. Love Wilson's value. ASB, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans, good, strong veteran on a wide receiver room. Dubs, we talked about in Discord. I think he ends up with a nice little landing spot. And then Jalen McMillan, we'll see, maybe gets traded. It's just tough if he's the 4th receiver in Tampa. But talent-wise, he makes sense. DK and Brazil. Wow. Last round, Brazil. I think he's an intriguing 2nd-round pick in the draft. Laporta, Schultze, and Njoku. So, nice tight end room. Kramer, 372. I think Kramer said he liked, I think he was the one who said he liked his first draft better. Burrow, Love, Mendoza, so 3 good starting quarterbacks, because I do treat Mendoza as a full starting QB. McCaffrey, Scadaboo, Rico, Mason, I think returns good value there. Brooks, I'm more indifferent on, but absolutely understand if Rico's moving on. And taking a shot at 2 rookies, and went with the 7 running backs because there's a bit of more uncertainty. Injury, free agency, unknown what his situation will be, if he's the 1, what the 2, so I get it. But like McCaffrey anchor, Scadaboo, solid 2nd piece, and then plenty of paths for this running back room to fully pan out. And that's what I like to see. London, Higgins, Lemon, Pittman. I'm a big fan of Surratt, so I think you're getting some real value there at 129. Judy, I'm not the biggest fan of, but 153. If he is the Browns' number 1 receiver, hopefully this year that can return value. Last year he didn't return value at 75-ish, but you're getting him at twice the price, so maybe that pans out. I'll pick him a little at this price, don't get me wrong, but Browns are a tough one for me. Trey Tucker with Mendoza, Chris Bell, yes, he's coming off an ACL, but could be a second half year guy for you. And then Tucker Freiermuth. Generally, I like Tucker with 3 tight ends, particularly when your next one's Freiermuth. That'd be the only thing I say, just because he is coming off an ACL. But I love Tucker Kraft. So Young Moolah, last one in here, 4-6-7-3. Jaden Daniels, Tyler Shuck. He went Mac Jones, and then he went Anthony Richardson as we were talking about him. And you know what? I mean, 2 starters we're comfortable with, and then 2 shots at does Mac Jones get traded? Does Anthony Richardson get traded? Do they find a role? Stranger things have happened, right? So this is the time you take this shot in a 20-round draft with so much uncertainty. As he said yesterday, he was going 0 RB. This more robust. Achane, Hampton, Breece Hall, that's pretty robust. Adding a Monongai, Price, Caleb Johnson, Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Coker, Golden, Bryant, Pat Bryant, Brandon Ayuk, Tesla, Juwan Johnson, likely Helm. I would, I want it probably, I get why you want 4 quarterback. Probably want an 8th receiver when you're starting with Flowers, Terry, just because neither one, even if they kind of hit their peak. I know 2 years ago Terry had the same year, but 14 touchdowns is probably pretty tough for him again. Even if they hit their peak, they're not really contending with like top 5 wide receiver. And I know you weren't necessarily expecting that with investing so heavily in running back early. But like Flowers last year is a perfect example. Like was a little better in the playoff run, but for most of the year he was a 7 for 70 guy, no touchdowns. And that can be your 4th, your flex play or your 3rd wide receiver some weeks, especially during bye weeks. But he's not going to, and Terry's kind of the same guy generally, outside 2 years ago when he had the extra touchdowns. He's kind of this like, going to get 1,200 yards. I'm going to get 6 to 8 touchdowns. I'll have a couple 20-point weeks, but most of my weeks are going to be, 10 to 15 points, and that's fine. But I want a little bit more depth, just because you want that depth to, to push Zay Flowers and Terry McLaurin when they're having their 12-point weeks. They can still play for you, but you don't want them to be your wide receiver 1 and 2. You want it to be because, Gold and Tesla, each caught a touchdown and they're your 3 and 4. And that's my take on it. And, whether, like, honestly, because you went so heavy at running back, that Caleb pick, throw another receiver in there would be my personal take. I mean, everyone draft their own way. I'm not trying to, totally judge on that, but that's how I probably would have played it. Just need a little bit more upside for whoever you would have taken at 200. So, but overall, good draft. As you know, go to different ways, get unique. So fun drafts all around. And let me hit up chat. We will get on out of here. So yes, I kind of see that. I think that's right. Warm teen honey tonight, Steve. We need you top of your game all week. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I'll be on Sibling Showdown with Meg tonight at 8. And then tomorrow I will not be doing the afternoon stream, like this kind of stream. I would do, I think Meg and I are going live at 5. Let me post, Who Hames is having FK on. Let me post Who Hames stream in here. I think it is starting soon. And let's see, it's starting in 20 minutes. I will get on out of here. And we will see you later tonight. And so this is the link for Who Hames. FK will be on. Thank you, Peanut. Good luck with your, I don't remember which mitten it was now. I think that was mitten 1. But good luck. It seems like a great team. Same for Paul and anyone else. And I know was Joel also has a great team in the Mitten 3. So good luck to everyone as we get into the Super Bowl week. I know we still have time for that. And Huames, thank you. I'll be looking forward to watching your stream shortly. So that's the link below for it. Check it out. It goes live in 20 minutes. And thank you guys for all your support. I will catch you next time.